This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. They just opened up a brand new location located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information.
Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people, making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome to episode 262 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Shelley.
On this episode of the podcast, we sit down with Ethan Miller. He is the head distiller at the local Salt Lake City distillery, Dented Brick. On this episode, he shares his story of how it all happened, how he got to where he's at today. He also includes some of his personal life, like when he was an MMA fighter.
Which was fun news for us.
Yeah, we had no idea that he was an MMA fighter.
This is the beauty of Facebook. We were going to interview him, and you threw it out. Who has questions for Ethan Miller?
Somebody said he was an MMA fighter. I said, no way.
So, of course, I Googled it, and they were not lying.
We stumbled upon a YouTube video, which I think we should put that in the show notes on this episode.
Should. He won, so definitely.
We're going to get into all that in this episode. Remember, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, you're going to want to go to iamsaltlake.com. The complete archive of all the podcast episodes is there.
We have a great back catalog, and we've broken it up into, if you like to learn about the drinks in Salt Lake, some food places that we've interviewed, local activists, authors, artists, comedians, music, whatever, anything you want to learn about in Salt Lake, we've interviewed someone.
It's a constant work in progress. Everything is right there on the website, iamsaltlake.com. You can find all the links right there on the website. You know, Chrissy, we always talk about how great Oleo products are here on the podcast. I'm always chatting about their beard oils, the beard washes, the beard balms, because I'm a lover of beards.
And so am I, which makes me so happy that you have one. But I also love their skin products because it makes my face baby butt smooth.
Yeah, it's a great way to, clean the face, groom the beard.
Oh, they're just such good quality products. And the reason is because Derek and Jennifer genuinely care.
Absolutely. Head on over to oleoskin.com. Find out more about this great local company. You can find out more about their products. You can order them right there from the website. Find out what markets they're going to be at. Again, that's oleoskin.com. Like I mentioned on this episode, we chat with Ethan Miller from Dented Brick. We have a great conversation. He even brought in all of the Dented Brick liquors where we got to take some shots and try some of their products.
It was a lot of fun.
You're going to hear that on this episode. All right, let's get into that conversation. Let's play that now for the people of Salt Lake City.
Let's do it.
Hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Here's the conversation.
Hello.
Check. Well, should we get started with these shots? I mean,
sure.
I'm going to have you tell us what you poured here, Ethan.
So this is the Roof Razor vodka. It is made from organic, non-GMO, Utah-grown wheat and rye. We make everything from scratch, 100%. No shortcuts. The reason it's called Roof Razor is because our vodka column was too tall to fit in the building, so we had to cut a skylight into the roof.
Oh,
so
that's
we had to raise
awesome.
the roof.
Wow. You had to raise the roof to make this.
Yeah, so that's where it gets its name. So it's unfiltered. You can actually taste what it's made out of. So you get the sweetness of the wheat, a hint of pepper from the rye, but it's pretty pleasant. I'm not much of a vodka drinker, but I actually enjoy this. So
it definitely smells more flavorful than like a boring vodka.
Yeah, most American vodkas are sourced alcohol, GNS, so grain neutral spirit, and it's watered down and ran through carbon filters. So they try and make it as neutral as possible, so it just tastes like alcohol. So this is kind of a different approach, more of a classic, traditional approach of making vodka.
Cool.
So,
well, we're going to take a shot now, and then
All
we'll
right.
get into the conversation. here.
Cheers.
cheers.
If we can reach. Can I reach you? Ooh. That has a lot of flavor. Like, it doesn't taste like straight alcohol, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. Wow, I've never actually tasted one like this.
Well, we're going to get into, obviously, Dented Brick Distillery, but I want to find out a little bit about you, even kind of going back to where's home, where did you grow up? Did you grow up here in Utah?
Yeah, I grew up in West Valley. So I went to Hunter High and then later Central High.
Did you ever move away from Utah at all?
Not until I was a young adult. Got married when I was 18. Was a good Mormon boy. Got married in the temple.
At 18
which
years
At
old.
temple?
18. The Salt Lake Temple, of
All
course.
right,
Yeah.
of course.
So, yeah, we moved to Sacramento for a little while. That's where our first daughter was born, Zariah. And then we moved back to Utah. And then we moved to Portland more recently, lived there for a couple of years. And that's where our second daughter was born, Juniper.
Did you go on a mission at all? You mentioned you were Mormon, so you didn't do the mission thing.
No, didn't do the mission. Got married in the temple like 3 months after graduation. Super exciting.
So
we're still
you've
married.
kind of phased out of that part of your life,
Yeah.
obviously.
You could
'cause
say that, yeah.
Liquor. Unless you're Brigham Young, then.
Yeah, no, I'm nothing like Brigham Trump.
And we don't need it. We don't need to get into all that. I was just kind of curious.
no.
Where,
I'm not
you know,
being negative.
It's fine.
I always like to know, like, you know, what brought people to Utah if they lived here their whole life. So, what did you do? Now, I mean, you're the head distiller at Dented Brick, right?
Yeah.
When did that come into your life? I mean, I don't really know where to jump into.
How did you get
Yeah, what you're doing as a head distiller. I mean, okay, let's even go back further. When you were a young kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? What were your interests as a kid?
I've always been an artist. I've always been interested in science and math and biology. So I was kind of a nerd, but I also played the sports and stuff. So kind of have always dipped my fingers into different things and experienced what I liked. So
Kind of a jack of all trades.
yeah, I try to be. You know, I try to keep things interesting, and maybe I have a terrible attention span, so I've done a lot of weird stuff. So, but yeah, when I was a kid, I thought I was going to be an art teacher. Realized I wasn't going to make enough money. Decided I wanted to be an architect or a graphic designer, but then I realized I'd be designing buildings for some other people, be doing other people's art. I didn't like that, so eventually became an optician. So I did optical. Worked at several optical shops around Utah.
Like glasses and stuff.
Glasses, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so I
I would have
worked,
never guessed that.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of fun. You know, there's a lot of science, some fashion, some art. So it's a good industry. It's a lot of interesting people in the industry. A lot of very smart people. It got too corporate for me. You know, too much of a sales job, which I didn't like. And I was into whiskey, so I went and started at High West. Actually started as a temp on the bottling line.
Oh, wow.
And just worked my way up. So
So you just slowly learned more and more and then moved up to a new position, learned more and more there. And then did you eventually become a distiller there?
no, I was their assistant blending coordinator and their
Okay.
safety coordinator. So I helped them write all the SOPs for their safety programs and their production programs. Also did the blending, help babysit the barrels. When you're blending whiskeys, it's challenging because you'll run out of a batch of whiskey and you have to replace that batch and produce a product that has the same flavor profile that people are used to. So it's actually a pretty challenging job. It's a lot of fun, of course. I'm still friends with all the folks at High West, and it was a great experience. So that was kind of getting my feet wet in the liquor industry. So most of the distilling that I did there was just tabletop distillation for proofing. So like the barrel aged Manhattan has a lot of sugars in it, so you have to do a tabletop, like a lab style distillation to find out how much alcohol's in there.
Did you know anything about distilling before you got a job there? I mean, did you do some home brewing at all, or nothing?
No, I was just interested in it. I loved the lab environment of optical, and understood that there was a lab environment in liquor as well. So I've always loved having a piece of that without being, stuck in a lab all the time. So,
Sure.
Yeah. So that was part of what interested me.
Was your wife pretty supportive of you doing that?
Yeah.
I guess kind of changing your field, right? One day
That's a huge jump.
You're in optical, and then the next day you're slinging booze.
Yeah. And we've had our on and offs, so we've separated a couple times and gotten back together. So when I made that transition, we weren't actually together.
Okay.
Which was an interesting time, but that was, it was a good time for a transition. So
Gives you a little more freedom during those transition periods to try something new.
Yeah.
Which I'm down with.
So from High West to Dented Brick, I mean, I'm assuming that's where you went after High West, right?
No, I went to Portland, moved to Portland, and we just loved it out there. So we visited for a week and decided, let's move out here. Moved out there. I had 2 or 3 distilleries that I wanted to work at, gave them my resume, and, kind of bugged them about it. Got offered a job doing something else, and talked to Tom over at New Deal and told him I got offered a job somewhere else. And then he brought me on board at New Deal Distillery. So
New Deal's in Portland.
Yeah. So they're part of Distillery Row.
Okay. I'm not that familiar, I guess, with all the distilleries.
That's
not
fine.
So much either.
Yeah, it's okay. So in Portland, there's a street in Southeast Portland that had like 6 or 7 distilleries. Some have moved, some have grown, some have been added. So it's kind of changed. So when I moved to Portland, there was, I think it was around 40 something distilleries. When I left Portland, approximately 2 years later, there was about 85 distilleries.
Wow. How many distilleries are there in Salt Lake?
There are 13 DSPs that I'm aware of. So not all of them are distilling. Some are packaging. Some, there's a lot of variety in the business model of the distilleries here in Utah.
So Salt Lake City needs to kind of catch up if we're going to get to Portland level.
Yeah.
It's going to take a minute.
Yeah, we have some unique challenges here for sure for the industry.
Which I want to get into, obviously, some of the challenges of dealing with liquor in Utah. What brought you back to Salt Lake City then from Portland?
It was Dented Brick. So Mark Christensen, the founder of Dented Brick, he contacted me through a former coworker. And when I was at New Deal, I had people all the time like, hey, come help me run a distillery, help me open a distillery.
You kind of became well known in the industry.
I don't know if I was well known at that point, but people would visit and see what I'm doing, and they respected it and wanted to give me a job.
Yeah.
So that happens a lot. And with the industry, there's a lot of people that want to open distilleries, but it's hard to find people that are actually doing it. So a lot of times you get an offer for it, and then you never hear from them again.
So did you know Mark at all?
No, I didn't know him at all.
He just knew you were a damn good distiller.
I don't know what he was told about me, but
but it wasn't horrible.
No, it was apparently all good stuff. No, Mark's a great guy. So he started OTW Safety, so they did barricades. So for stadiums and airports, and it's a billboard barricade company. So it's a unique system that he developed and a company he built around it. So it's OTW, which stands for off the wall.
Is that's still happening right
that's still
now?
Happening, yeah.
Alongside with Dented Brick.
Yeah, and that's another. They're based here in Sugar House, actually.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, were you part of Dented Brick then, from the ground up, from the beginning? Then,
yeah. So they have Mark started raising money for it probably about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
So I didn't know him at that point, but he got to the point where he needed his distiller. Heard about me through some of my former coworkers, and gave me a call. So at first I was just like, yeah, I moved to Utah and be a distiller. Yeah, right. No,
yeah.
not happening, because I've heard it before. So, and I even told my wife at one point, if we moved back to Utah, it would be the end of my career as a distiller. I'd have to find something else to do.
Really?
Because I didn't think there would be the opportunity here. But, Mark was serious, and he had all of his ducks in a row. Had the building in development. It was mostly engineered, mostly done. Most of the equipment was already ordered. So it was really nice because I, stepped in and they were just like, here's the distillery. So,
and now the building actually isn't even too far from where we're at right now, right? I mean, isn't it like, what's the address? 30?
It's 3100 South Washington.
Yeah. So it's not far.
Yeah. It's just off of 33rd and I-15.
Yeah. So it's not actually even far from my day job. I work at I sell tile, so I'm on 300 West there.
Okay.
Right on Tile Mile, they call it.
Yeah. You can build anything out there.
You can build. So, I mean, what's the time frame like? How long ago was this with Dented Brick starting? What's the history?
That was about a year and a half ago.
Okay, so pretty new.
Yeah. So that was about a year and a half ago. When I got here, there was no windows, no doors in the building. So I was working with the contractors and the engineer on putting the equipment in and getting things set up to get it rolling.
Wow. So you actually helped finish setting up all the equipment to distill.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, having to put all that in and having to do all that, because I'm sure that was new for you, or no?
Yes and no. I mean, through my work at High West and at New Deal, I learned a whole lot about especially doing the SOPs. So, setting up how to use all of this equipment safely. So you learn a lot about the engineering and everything. And at New Deal, I used a lot of different equipment. So I would be running, up to 5 or 6 different stills at a time. Sometimes, it was usually pretty busy, but they're smaller and they make a lot of different products. So I got a lot of experience in a short amount of time. How
many liquors are there now? How many liquors do you still distill at
Dented Brick?
Dented Brick.
Yeah.
We just have the 3 so far. We have the vodka, the gin, and the rum.
Which you brought with us. I know we mentioned it maybe when we took the shot. So we have
Raise the Roof.
Vodka.
Which I love the story behind. Were we recording when we talked about that?
I think so.
It's a good story.
The roof raiser.
The roof raiser.
Yeah.
Or, I'm from the 90s.
That's fine.
Look.
Yeah. It's kind of a reference to that without being
too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Antelope Island rum, which is a good rum. I've had that in some cocktails. And this is one someone asked us to ask about too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of get into it. So on Facebook,
gin?
We asked, I made a post last night before I was going to record with you, if people had some questions, and I was going to get into just all the questions, but since we're talking about the different liquors and the different what you have here, somebody, the story behind Carl Ethan, how do you say that? Akeley?
Akeley, yeah.
Akeley, the namesake behind their awesome gin. That was Amanda. Asked that question. So what's the story there? I guess why we're that part of the.
So Carl Ethan Akeley, he's my great great granduncle. I was named after him. His middle name is Ethan. He was an inventor, a big game hunter, conservationist. He was a real Renaissance man of his time. Went hunting with Teddy Roosevelt. He helped establish the first national park to protect the gorillas in their natural habitat, which is now called Virunga National Park in the Congo. He was the first person to film gorillas in their natural habitat, and he did it on a camera that he invented, which the shutter speed on that camera wasn't matched until the late 70s, and he did it in the 20s. So they used his cameras during World War II to film. They'd strap it to airplanes and things because he made it to go on safari. He also invented a spotlight they used during the wars. And he was just an all-around amazing guy. So if you've ever been to the Museum of Natural History in New York, they have an entire wing that's called the Akeley Hall of African Mammals. And that's all his work. He's considered the father of modern taxidermy. So he took taxidermy.
You just piqued Chris's interest.
I'm kind of a taxidermy kind of intrigues me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting thing. So when he was a child, he found a dead bird, and that was the first piece that he did taxidermy on.
Okay.
But he was a young boy.
He just took it home and
dissected it, learned it, and put it back together.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and
actually.
he was an artist, so he drew. He was also a photographer. There's some famous animal photography that was done by him, and then he was the first person to do taxidermy on an elephant.
Whoa!
That would take. How long would that take?
I don't know. That's a good question.
That would take so long. I'm so.
So what made you decide to name the gin after him then? Just because he's sounds like a really cool guy. I guess.
He's just he's somebody that I've always looked up to. Heard his stories, studied his stories. There's lots of books about him. He's instilled some aspirations in my life to make my life interesting and try and do a lot of different things. So I've just always wanted to name, as soon as I got into, when I started at High West, that was one of my things that I wanted to do.
One of your goals?
Yeah, was to name a product after Akeley. So
how does that work? Like to be able to name a product after somebody? Is that because of your role at Dented Brick, you have that capability?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure not every employee at Dented Brick has that opportunity.
Do you all get to like put names in a hat and then someone picks a name and that's what you name it?
No, we have a pretty open creative process over there, which is really nice. So me and Mark, I told him about the idea. We discussed it quite a bit, presented it to our shareholders and everybody, and kind of talked about what we want to do. So it's really nice because, like I say, it's open creative process. We discuss it, bounce ideas off each other all the time, and it's a lot of fun.
Right on.
So,
that's really neat. I love how positive of an environment that is. Like, not many companies actually do that.
Yeah.
So even to back up a little bit, the name Dented Brick, where does that name come from?
So the property that we're on in South Salt Lake, the reason that we acquired that property is that it had a well on it. So it's got an artesian well. So we're using well water in our products, which is unique. It's also very beneficial because the water has a lot of good minerals for the fermentation in it. So that's why we wanted that property. But there was a little brick house on the property, and a lot of the bricks on the house were all beat up and old. So the house was about 100 years old, and we tore it down. We kept the old bricks and the mailbox and a few other things to remind us, kind of the origin of Dented Brick. So
right on.
That's so cool.
I actually had no idea where that name came from. So in the beginning of Dented Brick Distillery, what kind of obstacles did you face? I mean, one or two? I'm sure there was a ton, or not really, or...
Well, fortunately, we had really good contractors, which makes a big difference. First Construction was was the company that helped put it together for us, and they hire excellent contractors that ask questions before they do things, which is great. We were able to, we talked to the guys at High West. They helped us make sure that we didn't make mistakes. It was kind of a team effort between the investors, the engineer, the architect, the construction company, all the contractors, and myself. So it was a really good experience. So we didn't really make that many mistakes, and we didn't really encounter that many large obstacles in the construction process, which is nice.
What about the liquor side of things?
Liquor is it's not too bad. A lot of people think that Utah's ridiculously hard to do liquor in. We definitely have our challenges and our unique laws, but compared to the rest of the country, we're kind of in the middle. We're in the mix. Before the Olympics, that wasn't the case. Getting rid of the club license and things like that. So it is challenging because the state doesn't care if you're local or not, which is a shame. We have a lot of great people starting distilleries here, and it's great for our economy locally. They all employ locals. They are local people. They live here.
The money stays in this area.
Keeping the money local. They use local ingredients, local vendors when possible. A lot of the distilleries sell things that are only sold at farmers markets here. So we're the brick and mortar stores for a lot of these littler companies that are selling at farmers markets. So if you need beard oil, Oleo has our beard oil at our place.
You guys have partnered with Oleo on a few products.
Yeah. They made a lip balm with our rum in it.
Yeah.
So we try and do a community effort. Our grand opening, we had a farmers market in the distillery. So we want to support local. We want to help grow the small businesses in Utah and support each other. So, because if it's good for all of us. If one of us does well, we should make sure we try and share that a bit.
You mentioned, so listeners, you sell the beard oil and the beard balm, all the Oleo products right there at Dented Brick too.
I don't think we have all of it, but we have a good,
some of it.
Yeah, we have a good amount of the items that they make. So.
And you have a local, like people could just stop by, purchase. Shoot, this is probably a good time to even get into that. You brought some shot glasses.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of really, really cool merch that I would actually go buy. especially this cute little thing.
Yeah, there's a cute
Maybe
little
put a picture of it on.
like Chrissy says, a cute little flask.
It's a cute little flask.
People could buy this at their. Obviously, you could buy your booze there.
It's a picnic flask.
What are
It
the
comes with 2
hours
shot glasses.
of that?
We're noon to 6 Tuesday through Thursday, and Friday and Saturday 11 to 7.
And people can probably come and take a tour.
Yeah.
Right of the
We should go take a
distillery,
tour.
which I'd like to. Does that cost money? What's the cost?
Yeah,
of that?
so you can do a tour and a tasting, or just a tasting. Tasting is $5. You can come in anytime during business hours, pay $5, try all 3 products, see if you like them and want to buy them. Or you can pay $10 and you do a tour and a tasting. It takes about 45 minutes. You get a shot glass, and we walk you through the process, and then you get to taste all 3 products.
Right on.
That is really cool. Are you guys, just because you said that you were interested in whiskey and that's kind of how you got interested in it, are you eventually planning on putting out a whiskey?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that'll actually be probably our next product will be a white whiskey.
Ooh, a white whiskey.
So,
I would
yeah.
like to try that when
Yeah,
you
so
get around to it.
It'll be unaged.
Okay.
Like I said, we do everything, no shortcuts. So we're using Idaho malt and the wheat and the rye for the mash bill for the whiskey. So
Yeah.
Right on. Let's actually take a quick break. We got to play a message from our sponsor, and then we're going to come back, and I want to jump right into the questions from some listeners that we asked on Facebook. So hang tight. We'll grab another shot here. We'll be back and chat with Ethan some more. So hang tight. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. Go get a haircut, a beard trim, or even a straight razor shave. Jed's Barbershop is open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 9 to 7, and Sunday, 12 to 5. They just opened up a brand new location located at 167 East, 900 South, right next to Randy's Records. They also have a location downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. No appointment is necessary. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com for more information. Check. We'll get back here.
Check. I'm going to try some of the gin.
You're okay. Well,
there you go. There's some right there for you.
oh, I will. Okay. I'm actually gonna.
It's a tiny
You
one.
could taste it. And
I'm a
spit it back out.
lightweight, man.
You are a lightweight. He's lightweight. I'm the heavyweight.
Well, especially since I haven't had like a proper dinner yet. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Solid point.
And the fact that I haven't.
We should go
drank
get
for
some
a
candy
while.
bars.
Yeah, I just came from Even Stevens, so I'm good.
Oh,
What did you have at Even Stevens?
The Reuben.
The Reuben.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have
my
not had that yet. I need to try that.
I love Reubens. I'm a sucker for Reubens. So.
So,
Well, they are delicious.
And Even
so
Stevens
that's fair.
is cool. So yeah.
They are.
well, anyway, so on Facebook, I asked, like I mentioned before we took the break, I asked some questions if anybody had anything they wanted us to ask you. I kind of want to just start at the top of this. And Drew asked us, ask him about his MMA days,
Yeah.
which I had no idea you were an MMA fighter.
I was for a moment.
And then we YouTubed it and we found a clip.
Oh yeah, I think there's only one clip that you can find.
And you won.
Yeah.
So it's a good clip to have.
Yeah,
online.
that was. Yeah, I only had 3 fights, all amateur fights. With Stillfist, they're a local promotion. They do a good job, and so I had 3 amateur fights. It was something that I used to get in a lot of fights when I was a kid, and my friends were always telling me you should do boxing, you should do mixed martial arts, and and so I finally just decided to try it.
And when was this?
Oh, this was like 5 years ago.
Okay, so before Dented Brick days.
Yeah. So this was during my High West days.
Okay.
So, so I was moving barrels all day at work, which was fun and a good workout. And then, I'd go to jujitsu and capoeira and mixed martial arts.
Oh, wow. You studied all of those.
Not enough. I didn't train enough. My first fight, I had literally gone to like a week of jujitsu. and got the snot kicked out of me, but I won. So this guy that I fought in the first fight was a great boxer, hit really hard. He's a big dude, and he beat the snot out of me. So I looked like the guy from the Goonies, the "Hey you guys," that guy, Sloth.
Pretty swollen.
Yeah. So after that fight, I looked like Sloth, but I won. So he kept beating me up, and I just kept smiling and walking forward, and eventually I was like, oh crap, he's gonna beat me. So
Sure.
And time was running out. There's probably a minute left of the fight, and I was bleeding all over the place, and was like, okay, I gotta win. I gotta finish the fight. He's a better boxer. I'm not gonna knock him out. So I just I got him in a chokehold, sort of, and then leaned back and just lifted my legs up and choked him until he tapped out.
Wow.
So
I can't even imagine.
Do you miss? I mean, do you think about doing that again at all? Or
yeah, I would love to. Mark and the other investors in Dented Brick don't want me to.
Why is that?
They want my brain to stay in
They
good
don't want
shape.
any concussions happening.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I've probably had some concussions at football
getting punched in the head will kind of
martial arts and stuff. So
Wow. See, and I had no idea.
It's so. Do you have a favorite martial art that you did study?
capoeira is probably my favorite, but I was the worst at it.
Oh, I did capoeira for a little bit too.
Yeah, it's super fun.
is fun.
Jamaica here locally.
I know Jamaica.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He is.
So he, I went to his class a bit. But Gustavo Rodriguez was the guy that taught me jiu-jitsu a bit. And, I owe him a visit. I wish I still did it, but I don't have much time to do it. But yeah, no, jiu-jitsu was my favorite one to actually do. Because I think jiu-jitsu is probably the most practical martial art, in my opinion, because it teaches you how to diffuse a situation and to not get hurt and to get out of there. So you're...
Very logical things.
Yeah. So it's a great self-defense martial art for sure.
That is so cool.
And it works your whole body, too.
The next question, where are we at here? Amy asks, what does he think about the sale of High West?
I'm happy for them. I think it's it's great for the company itself and the brand. A lot of people are concerned about it. But what seems to be happening a lot in the industry is the larger companies are buying these other distilleries because they have successful brands, so they don't have to compete with them. However, they're usually, maybe not usually, but a lot of the time they're keeping the same employees, and they're basically just saying, we own it now, and we're going to make the money off of it, but you guys keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, like same system, just new ownership.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is good because everyone gets to keep doing what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm still friends with a lot of the employees over there. The staff is great, the management, and hopefully they don't change too much. But yeah, all great people over there. Still going to be great products. And like I said before, blending is more than just repackaging whiskey, and I learned that because I had to do it. So it's a challenge, and they also do have an amazing new facility up there in Wanship, making good stuff up there. So I'm excited to see when some of their own make, is aged and comes out.
Do you see something like that ever happening with Dented Brick? Or, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to say.
It is. We're still really new. We've only been open since March. And it's definitely a possibility. It's not our aim, but we definitely, our aim is to provide unique expressions in each category, and all craft, no shortcuts. Mm-hmm. And we'll sell it as much as we can.
Sure.
We built a larger facility, so we kind of took a different approach, a unique approach in the industry. A lot of distilleries start really small. They build a small distillery. If they're successful and a distributor approaches them with a big order, they can't support the big order. So they end up having to turn down these large distribution deals. So we, that's one of the things that made me excited about Dented Brick, is that Mark had the wherewithal to know that would be an issue, because when you need to expand a distillery, you need to build a new distillery.
Yeah, you have to be able to keep up with demand.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to ask really quick. We were talking about the gin on our break, and I just sipped a little bit of this, and it is so different from any gin I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
You were telling me why.
Yeah, so it has rooibos tea in it, which is an African tea, which, goes back to the Akeley story. He spent a lot of time in Africa. He also died from a high fever, presumably from malaria. So gin and tonic was used to treat malaria. So there's a good chance that gin was the last thing that he drank before he died.
That's cool.
That is a really cool, 360 all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, the reason his arm's in a sling on the label is because he was attacked by a leopard while he was on safari. And he killed it with his bare hands. He survived an elephant attack, and then, a mosquito got him with malaria. So pretty interesting stuff.
Wow.
So.
Preston asked online, he said, how is the market for locally made liquor in a state with such repressive liquor laws?
It's an interesting question. I kind of think of it in a different way than some, since I've worked out of the state a bit. Our liquor laws here are not that bad. It can always be worse. A lot of people want us to privatize, but as evident in states like Washington State, they privatized and their prices all shot up. Mm-hmm. So it may not be the best thing for the consumers for us to privatize. It is hard to find a good balance within a control state. Oregon has a pretty good balance. Their liquor is also more expensive there, generally speaking, taxing and everything. Because what happens is right now we have the state controls the liquor stores and the warehouse. In Oregon, they control just the warehouse. Mm-hmm. In Washington, the state used to control it, and now they don't, but they still want the same cut of the money. So with our current legislature and leadership in the state, the thing that I fear with privatization is that the state would still want their same cut from the liquor, even though they're not running a warehouse. They're not running liquor stores. So they'd want the same amount of money out of the deal. And then you'd have people that want to open liquor stores, and they would need to make some money too. So the consumer ends up losing because they end up paying a lot more money. So that's one of the possibilities. And given how our legislature is, I don't have the confidence in them to make it work correctly.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to me. That was one of the things about moving back to Utah. I'm going to get politically involved. I'm going to try and make a positive change. And if my daughters are going to grow up here and I'm going to have a business here, I want to make it a better place if I can, or have a positive impact on the actual laws and the processes in the state.
See, the thing
That's
is,
awesome.
though, I mean, our liquor laws, they're really not that bad. I mean, even when I lived in Pennsylvania, I mean, it was a state run, if I remember correctly as well. A lot of states are pretty
people
bad.
just like to point it out here because there's a reason to blame it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to blame the Mormons.
So Preston actually had kind of a two-part question. Mm-hmm. He said he was also, are you distributing nationwide, regionally, or only in Utah?
Right now, so like I said, we just opened in March. So we've been open for
not even 10
months, maybe.
Yeah.
So, we opened the end of March 25th, 2016. Our rum is in Japan. We also, we just met with Idaho last month with all 3 products, and a few future products. You can special order in Oregon, Washington, California, West Virginia. We're working on Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. So we're being really ambitious and really impatient.
So what makes you pick a state? Is it the laws? Is it connections?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. So we've kind of, in some ways, we've targeted some of the control states. A lot of it just depends on distributors. So it's a 3-tier system. So we're the producers. We have to go through distributors, and then there's the liquor store or the end users.
Sure.
So we can't, other than at the distillery, we can't sell directly to a liquor store or directly to a customer. So they have to go through the 3 tiers, which makes, distribution is one of the biggest challenges because you have a lot of big distributors. They have to be licensed. They pick and choose who they want to represent, of course. It's about convincing a distributor and then getting the right distributor. So it's a challenge for sure.
We've got one more question here from Mark. Ask him if he likes his boss.
Oh, yeah.
That is your boss.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, Mark.
I had to ask.
Mark's a great guy. He's a lot of fun. He's kind of revolutionary in the way that he approaches business, in my opinion. He's very laid back, very ambitious. He's a skier, but he also, early, or I guess it was 2015. So when I moved back, right before I had moved back, he had actually had a brain tumor removed. So he had brain surgery in the middle of this project.
While trying to set this all up.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So considering that, he's recovered well and done an amazing job. He's a lot of fun to work with. He's very open-minded, which is great. So I think we're going to do a lot of things that haven't been done before, hopefully, or have rarely been done. And he gives us a lot of freedom and, pretty much trusts us to do our job, which is really nice.
How many employees are at Dented Brick approximately? Right
now we have 4 of us.
Oh, wow. So you got a pretty small crew.
Yeah. I mean, five if you count Mark. So we just picked up another person that's, part-time. So we have a couple part-timers. Then there's me and Mark is focused on distribution, sales, marketing, managing our investors and those types of things. And then we have me and Scott, and we're doing production. And then we have Cindy Robinson.
Yeah, I know Cindy.
Yeah, she used to work at Wasatch Squatters.
Yeah.
So we just picked her up. She's going to help us, hopefully make the retail store busier.
Yeah.
So she's going to help with tours, local events and everything. And I'm sure she'll morph into more of a managerial position at the distillery itself, since she has so much experience in the industry locally.
What does a typical day look like for you? I mean, I'm sure it's different every day, or what does a typical day look like?
I've had insomnia my whole life, so I'm usually up until 2 a.m. If I go to sleep before that, then I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. So I start early and end very late. But typically it starts on my laptop working in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, and then phone calls and emails and everything from doing graphic stuff to event stuff to hanging out with my kids, getting them ready for school, and then going to the distillery and working with Scott and mashing and distilling and bottling and doing all the fun stuff there. So
that sounds like a fun day. It sounds fun to me.
It is. It's a lot of hours.
Do you still do a lot of? You said you do graphic stuff. Do you actually do anything for Dented Brick?
Yeah. So the labels, not the first label, the Antelope Island Rum. That was a Greek company that did that for us as our initial branding. But I worked with Dan over at Go Interwest to do the Akeley label and the Roof Razor label.
That is so cool. They're really well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dan does a great job. So he helped me. I started it. He helped me polish it and finish it. And, he's helped us with, we have unique gift boxes and stuff like that. And then, but yeah, I do like some of the ads, print ads and things like that I've done on the computer myself.
Do you love that you get to actually explore different parts of yourself because you're a head distiller, but you also get to do other things and incorporate different activities?
Yeah. And that kind of classically in the industry has become a normal thing for a head distiller.
Really?
Is to wear a lot of hats. So you're kind of, you've got federal taxes, you've got state regulations to deal with.
Ew.
You've got chemistry and math and science and, art, and there's all these different elements. And that's why I love this industry and love this job. So
sure.
It's not boring. And, there's, in my opinion, you're always learning something. And if I feel like I've stopped learning, then I'm out of it. I'm going to quit. But I know that that'll never happen in this industry. I'll never know enough that I feel like I can't learn anymore.
Like you'll always stay challenged.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means you're going to make an amazing product forever too.
I hope so.
So we talked to MMA, we talked distilling, graphic design stuff. I mean, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? Something else about Ethan. What do you do with your other spare time?
I love painting, so more art. I've been focused on the distillery the last couple of years, but I also enjoy writing.
Writing what? What do you write?
So I usually write, poetry and I like to write really rough stories.
Really?
Yeah. So Palahniuk is my favorite author, Chuck Palahniuk, the Fight Club guy.
What was that book, Lullaby or something? I read
Lullaby.
that years ago.
Yeah.
Fascinating read.
Yeah, some of his books are hard to read.
Yeah,
because they're so graphic and so intense. So I like to write very descriptively. I don't think I'm a very good writer, but I like to do it. So,
do you ever see yourself publishing a book or anything?
I would like to, but we'll see. It'd probably just by default end up being about booze.
Hey, write about what you know.
A tortured man and a bottle of whiskey and
yeah. I mean, I
chain smoking cigarettes, right?
Yeah. I also love to read scientific and analytical literature.
Really?
And, so I recently was reading a book called Neurogastronomy, which is really interesting. And, it explores our sense of smell and how our brain and our sense of smell work together to illustrate taste to us. So,
it's like reading a textbook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's kind of what I've always been into to a degree is, my, my biology notes were a picture of something and then I'd label it. So
that's so,
I don't know.
That's so awesome.
But
and
I got
rare.
terrible grades.
Ironically.
Yeah.
Oh, is there a skill that you haven't tried that you would love to learn to do?
Actually metalworking. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
So I would love to do some.
We had this jewelry.
I was just thinking of the jewelry guy. And he's like a Renaissance man like you too. You guys should totally get together, teach each other some tricks.
Yeah, no, actually, there's a show on History Channel that me and my wife just started watching, and it's this blacksmith competition. And, so that's kind of piqued my interest a bit. And then welding is just a really useful skill for a distiller to have.
Sure.
So, I bet.
Yeah.
Sure.
If equipment goes out, you can kind of get in there.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody is visiting Salt Lake City for a day. What would you tell them to do or check out?
Yeah. If you're visiting Salt Lake for a day, for me, I love the Leonardo. It's a great place, great museum. They have a lot of good, practical exhibits there, especially if you have kids. If you've got kids with you, that's a good place to go. I love a lot of the bars here. There's Bar X, there's the Ruin, Water Witch is a brand new one that just opened up. There's a lot of great cocktail bars that are happening here, but it's it's slow and it's kind of at an exciting time in the city.
Sure.
So, we have a lot of things that are developing and I'm excited about the direction of a lot of it. So, and then the distilleries, of course, we've got the Distillers Guild now. So we're working on a Distillers Guild map. So it shows you where to visit the different distilleries. You can take the map with you and, check it out. So
tour all the distilleries in one day. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Favorite local eating spots?
Local eating spots.
You mentioned Even Stevens. You ate there before.
Yeah. I like Even Stevens, and part of why I like it is because of their cause. So they donate a sandwich for every sandwich they sell, and I think that's really impressive. Let's see, where else? Finca. Love Finca. Great restaurant. Yeah, there's a lot of.
There's a lot to eat.
So much
I
good
love
food out
food,
here.
as you can see. So, yeah.
Well, let's run down the list of distillery or Dented Brick Distillery, the products that you carry. You got a gin, a rum, and a vodka. Mm-hmm. How can people purchase these products?
So the rum is at the liquor store. The gin and the vodka are newer, and they are not in the liquor store yet.
Really?
You can special order it. So if you're a bar or a restaurant and you want it, the vodka or the gin, it actually helps us out if you place a special order. Or you can buy it at the distillery. So we have a package agency at the distillery, which is essentially a liquor store, but we can only sell the things we make.
And say that address again for listeners.
It's 3100 South Washington Street. And we do tours and tastings, and you can schedule it on our website, dentedbrick.com.
Right on. And I'll put those links at iamsaltlake.com with the show notes for this episode. You're on Facebook as well, Instagram. Are you on Twitter?
We are on Twitter. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So connect on social media. Do you care if I link your Facebook up on this as
go
well
for it. Yeah.
with this episode?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about, Chrissy, while we have them? I mean, I've had a great time getting to know you and finding out more. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton more we can learn about Dented Brick and maybe bring you back on one day, Mark, even on the podcast.
I'm just fascinated by all of your experiences. I'm kind of still absorbing everything that you've done right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
He's pretty modest
That's
over
what
here.
life's about, right?
Yeah. It is.
Absorbing experiences.
Well, cool. Well, we'll end it there. Thank you so much,
Yeah, no
Ethan,
problem. Thank you.
for coming on the podcast. And like I say, we'll have to catch up down the road.
Great.
All right. Many thanks to Ethan Miller from Dented Brick Distillery for coming on this episode. Head on over to our website, iamsaltlake.com/262. It's for episode 262. You're going to find all the links to connect with him, the links for Dented Brick, Facebook links, all of that right there on the website. Just a reminder, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Jed's Barbershop. This past week, their third location opened up. It's right next to Randy's Records at 167 East, 900 South. Head in there, get a haircut, a beard trim, a straight razor shave. No appointment is necessary. They're open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday 9 to 7, and Sunday 12 to 5. They also have 2 other locations to serve you, one of them being right downtown at 212 South, 700 East, and in Sugar House at 2153 East, 2100 South. Again, no appointment is necessary. That's the best thing about Jed's. Head on over to jedsbarbershop.com to find out more about their product. So this past week, I was actually a guest on a podcast called Podcast Local. I just kind of wanted to tell everybody a little bit about it, kind of keep their eyes open for when this interview posts. This is a great podcast, especially for anybody interested in podcasting local, kind of like we're doing here with I Am Salt Lake. It was a great opportunity for me to share my story, share about I Am Salt Lake, some thoughts on podcasting local. So make sure to keep your eyes open for that. I'll post the interview on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, and you're going to want to listen to that. We also got an iTunes review this week. I just wanted to read that here really quick. iTunes is a great way to help the podcast out, help boost the ratings and gets it more exposed to more people. Takes you just a few seconds.
And we really appreciate it.
We do. Head on over to iamsaltlake.com/iTunes. That way you can leave your review. Just wanted to read this one here, though. It's from Bootstrap Bub. He writes, "It's one thing to love your town. It's another to have a show dedicated to it. Chris and Chrissy bring to light all the great people that make Salt Lake City the best place to be."
That's such a nice review.
It really is. It takes just a second. Again, iamsaltlake.com/iTunes. It's going to head you right on over there to connect with that. Let's close this episode up. It was a great conversation with Ethan Miller.
It was.
Dented Brick. Pick up a bottle of one of their products next time you go to the local state liquor store and check it out.
And if you don't like gin, give this gin a try. I know I said it a million times. It's pretty decent.
Make sure to connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. All the social medias, we're on there. You guys have a great week. Get out, support local, love the city you live in.
And good night, Grammy.